Okay, so I am with Healthy Outdoor Communities, and we support good health and well-being in children, youth, and families of historically undervalued communities by utilizing free, safe, and easily accessible neighborhood parks and green spaces. Our 5 top Thrive factors that were identified by the community were parks and open spaces, education, look, feel, and safety, arts and cultural expression, and what's sold and how it's promoted. And that, where we're concerned, really has to deal mostly with their access to fresh food and affordable food. So we are involved in several community gardening projects to help fight food insecurity in the communities. So some of our accomplishments and successes, first, Tactical Urbanism community training led to Third Ward on Tap community event. So when we do trainings for the community, we do them like they're intensive trainings. It's not just like a 45-minute one and done. So for instance, our Tactical Urbanism training was a 6-week long event. Each class was an hour and a half. Each week for 6 weeks. And during that training, community members came up with the idea of a big community event to bring more attention to the Columbia Tap Trail running through Third Ward. And so we ended up hosting that large tactical urbanism event. It was very, very cool, very rewarding. We also have increased some of our collaboration relationships with new partners, and that has led to significant additional funding for our work, particularly in the Acres Homes community. So what we've been doing with our Communities of Care grant programming in Acres Homes led to NEO getting a sizable amount of money to create 7 new sustainable school gardens in Acres Homes. It also allowed the Houston Parks Board to bring in a lot of money for their Vogel Creek project in that area. And then we were also able to bring in $40,000 from Bank of America to create a new community garden in Acres Homes at Highland Park. Looks like we're going to be breaking ground on that garden at the end of this month. We've really worked on our community-driven budgeting process. So community members that participate in our community meetings vote on how money is spent, and that's what our budget is. 825 people have attended our HOC meetings, trainings, and events and programs this year, and over 5,000 community engagement touch points were reached through myself, Kelly, but also instrumentally our community engagement liaisons. So lessons we've learned. I mean, we've learned a ton of lessons, but if we have to narrow it down, we had some opportunities with our community and pilot project funding opportunities. So first of all, we had to make sure, or going forward, we have to make sure that the community understands that they are leading the projects that we give them funding for. So we had some organizations and community members that when we gave them the funding, they then were like, okay, so how are y'all going to do it? or they expected us to do all of the planning and logistics. And so that was kind of difficult. And we've since developed resources to help the community along with those projects so they can really learn how to do it themselves instead of relying on me or Kelly so much. So let's see. Oh, and these photos, one of them was from our Highland Park bike ride toy drive event, and community members were doing a healthy little walk. We had an event hosted by a church that we supported, their First Responders and Armed Forces Day celebration. And then during the big Houston rodeo, one of our partners held a little community rodeo because they recognized that their community members generally couldn't get to the rodeo, or the rodeo was too expensive, or whatever reason. So they hosted their own little community park rodeo that was a big success. Areas for growth. We definitely need more youth and just average community members involved. We have a lot of community members who have kind of just expressed how happy they are with us, but they don't come to the meetings anymore. It's almost like they went to enough meetings that they trust that we're not screwing the community, for lack of a better phrase. So they just feel like we've got it under control. They don't necessarily need to come. So we've got to work against that. We've developed some great relationships with local schools, so we plan on getting more youth involved in that way. And then we definitely need more community-driven programming and events going forward. And then our year 4 goals are to develop a youth advisory council where youth will have a true voice and they'll participate in decision making where like the regular community members have been doing it, the adults have been doing it up to this point. We'll provide educational and training opportunities to them. And we also want to bring more parents of those K through 12 youth into the collaborative. We want to host a community and parks convening. That is something that community members have asked for. So we're going to make that happen where we get community members, community-based organizations, government agencies, parks departments, everybody into the same room to discuss ways that we can make parks and green spaces more accessible to the community. And then we also want to support community-led programming in our parks. So ideas that have been brought up are like the walking clubs, yoga, line dancing is hugely popular in our communities. And then even things like nature clubs and community events. We have a ton of collaborators, both community members and lots of organizations. I'm not going to read off all these names, and we're still adding to the list. But right now, these are the organizations and people that we're really entrenched with. And then just a few more photos for you guys. We hosted a community container gardening class for community members that maybe live in apartments and can't have a regular community garden or garden plot available. It looks like we're also going to be involved in helping to develop a community garden for some large scale apartment or living communities. For instance, we are now in the works with getting one set up at CUNY Homes. We're in the very beginning stages, but it looks like that is going to happen. We hosted some community events. The one on the top right is from a neighborhood night out event. And then you can see that nifty little tower that we use to get community input on a variety of issues. And then once again, you know, there's so much there are challenges between some community members and our police departments and first responders. So those first responders, police personnel, all of that are always invited to our events. And it's really nice to see them have real conversations and real genuine interactions with community members, and everyone walks away hugging and getting a better appreciation for each other. So that is it for me. We've switched to now bi-monthly meetings instead of meetings every month because we're all going to so many meetings as community members. So our meetings are now on even numbered months with potentially committee meetings being held on the months in between. And that is the link to the meeting if anybody here would like to join. They're even numbered months, second Monday, starting at 6 o'clock. And that's it for us. Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there time for questions?